Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We begin with Allah's blessed name. We praise Him and we glorify Him as He ought to be praised and glorified. And we pray for peace and for blessings on all His noble messengers, on our father Adam, on our father Abraham, and on Moses, on Jesus, and on His mother, the Blessed Virgin Mary, and on the last of them all, the Blessed Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, as we greet you on this, the 16th day of the month of Safar, in the year 1442 of the Hijrah, from the studios of the Islamic Broadcasting Network, here in my native island of Trinidad in the Caribbean, with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. There is war between Armenia and Azerbaijan, and it's a beautiful country, Armenia, with beautiful people, and a beautiful country, Azerbaijan, with beautiful people. And the Quran speaks about them, and we will talk about that today, inshallah. So, who wants war? And why do you persist with this war? Why can't we have peace? We will have to address this subject today, inshallah. I have news for you that I have only one more session next week before I travel, if Allah so wills, inshallah. And it's been almost 1 year now since I returned to Trinidad, and I want to thank the Islamic Broadcasting Network and its CEO, Insha and Ismail, who have so kindly given me this opportunity to be able to give these talks here on IBN. May Allah bless them. The news is that, inshallah, I will be traveling to Pakistan, and the complete set of all my books, including my teacher's book, 30 books in all, 29 are almost printed now. Only one remains, and I can't get the time to complete the editing of that book on Isra and Miraj. As soon as I can finish editing it, it was written about 30 years ago. Then I can send it to Pakistan, and that last book will be printed, and we'll have a complete set of 30 books. And as soon as I get to Pakistan, if Allah allows me to reach to Pakistan, inshallah, I have a lot of work to do to autograph these books. Now, if you want to send an order for a complete set of books autographed with your name inscribed, and you are outside of Pakistan, send me an email, and then we'll send you an invoice. And I'll get your name and your address and telephone number. And provided that postal services are not suspended in Pakistan, then we can send it to you by email, by airmail. Otherwise, the books will only be available in Pakistan. If you're in Pakistan and you're ready to order a complete set of books, there'll be no invoice. So you just send me an email. As soon as I get to Pakistan, I'll autograph them, put in your name and so on. And then we have to arrange how you can collect them. And the good news is that 20,000 copies of the Quran and the Moon are now being printed in Pakistan for free distribution. Alhamdulillah for that. Now then, we turn to the war between Azerbaijan and Armenia. And I had, just last week, I had brought to your attention that I was reading this book, The 30-Year Genocide of Armenian Christians. It's been going on for a long, long time. The Armenian Christians have been suffering. They suffered tremendously under the oppression of the Ottoman Empire, including the genocide of 1914, when I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of them were killed. And they will never forget. They will never forget that. That's one of the reasons why this problem of Nagorno-Karabakh, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, is not going to be solved by war. It cannot be solved by war, no. And I introduce you to this other book, which shows the hidden actors at work. And the hidden actor is still at work in this war because Israel is supplying drones and weapons to one side in this war between Azerbaijan and Armenia. So the hidden actor is at work, the Jewish genocide of Armenian Christians. I commend these two books to you. I already gave you the authors and the publication and so on. And so we now have this sad and this painful task here, so far away in the Caribbean island of Trinidad, just 9 miles away from Venezuela. And I have to address this subject from so far away, the war between Azerbaijan and Armenia, but I do so from the perspective of the Quran and from the perspective of Islamic eschatology, and it seems that few are prepared to do that today, or few are competent to do that today. I don't know which one is correct. But now, the first thing that we have pointed out so far, and I trust that no one will be annoyed with me, no, for pointing out, that both sides are accusing the other side of having started the war. Azerbaijan's president says they started the war. Armenia says, no, they started the war. Well, then one side is telling a lie. And if one side is telling a lie and one side started the war and then is blaming the other side for starting the war, then that is an act not only of wickedness, but also it would be an unjust war. It would be an act of aggression. It would be an act of oppression. And people of truth must condemn lies. People of truth, whether you be Muslim or Christian or Jew or Hindu or Buddhist, if you are a people of truth, you must not only condemn lies, you must also condemn aggression and oppression, whether it be in Armenia, in Nagorno-Karabakh, or whether it is in the Holy Land, in Palestine, or whether it is in Kashmir, whatever it is, once it is oppression, it must be condemned. And if we are supporting the oppressor, supporting the one who started the fighting, the aggressor, supporting the one who is telling lies, then Allah, the angels are recording that. And Allah will punish us on Judgment Day. We'll get the fruit, the bitter fruit of having supported a liar, supported one who planned this war in advance, who started the war, and then who lied and said the other side started, and we support this side, then on Judgment Day we deserve the punishment that awaits us. What is the punishment? The punishment will be that for every single person on the other side, the victim, the one against whom you are telling lies, the one who is facing an aggressor who started the war, the one who is being oppressed, every single one who died in that war, every single one who is injured in that war, every single one who is oppressed amongst them in that war, you will have to answer for it. That is the punishment that awaits you. And so now I want to start by saying, since one side is lying, it doesn't matter to me which side it is, whether it is Muslim or whether it is Christian. If you are the liar, if one side is lying, one side planned and prepared for the war and then started the war, and the other side is the victim, then the duty of the people of truth is rather to go rushing to support this side because they are your Muslim brothers, or rushing to support that side because they are your Christian brothers. No, the people of truth must first ask, who planned this war in advance? Who started the war? And who is now lying about it and blaming the other side? When you find out which side has started the war, you must condemn that side, whether they are your brother Muslims or your brother Christians, is irrelevant. You must stand up for truth, whether it be in your favor or against your own people. You must stand up and be faithful to truth. That is the first thing I have to say about this war, and I hope that no one will differ with me on this comment. Number two, when you find out which side is lying, which side planned the war in advance and then started the war, then the people of truth must now support the other side. Even if they are your brother Muslims on this side or your brother Christians on this side, you must support the victim of aggression. You must support those who are being oppressed, regardless of whether they belong to your own community or not. That is the people of truth. And if you don't listen to me, then you'll have to listen in the grave, when you are questioned in the grave, and you'll have to answer. And on that day, you'll probably say, لو كنا بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم لو كنا نسمع أو نعقل ما كنا في أصحاب السعير. If we used to listen, and if we used to think rather than rushing blindly to support one side against the other, we wouldn't be in the hellfire today. And so you must support the side which is not telling lies. Support the side which did not start the war. Support the side which is oppressed. And on that day you'll be blessed for it. It doesn't matter whether you are Azhari or whether you are Armenian. Don't follow your government. Follow the truth. Now then, is there a way by which we can tell which side is lying? Yes. The liar always leaves footprints. The liar left huge footprints on 9/11. Yes. On 9/11, he committed the acts of monstrous terrorism and brought down the World Trade Center, yes, 3 towers, and then told monstrous lies that no, they did it, when he did it. And because of that monstrous lie on 9/11, history has been filled with bloodshed since then. Hundreds of thousands of people have been killed. Thousands of people have been injured, have become refugees. Immense suffering because of your lie. But this world was created by Allah. And it has not been created helter-skelter. He is still in charge, the Lord God. Every Christian knows that. Every Muslim knows that. I wonder if the Jew who supports Israel knows that. I wonder if the Hindu who supports this warmongering government in India, this warmongering government in India, whether the Hindu also knows that. He, the Lord God, is still in charge. And this world is a moral order. And therefore, truth must eventually prevail in the world. Yes, every Hindu should know that. Every Jew should know that. Every Christian, every Muslim, truth. Washington probably will never. Washington probably will never know that. Leave them alone. The truth will eventually prevail. So then, who is responsible for 9/11? Answer, who benefits from 9/11? And you'll know who is responsible. That's the footprint. Who has benefited from 9/11? The state of Israel. That's right. The state of Israel has benefited from 9/11. So you'll know that the Israeli Mossad played the most crucial role in 9/11. And the American CIA was together with them hand in glove in 9/11. That's how you can tell when they commit acts of aggression, acts of oppression, and they tell monstrous lies. That's how you can know from their footprints. And so look at the footprints of this war in between Azerbaijan and Armenia, and then you'll get to know who started the war by answering the question, who benefits from the war? Instead of rushing to support one side or the other, just do a little bit of homework to check the footprints, to decide who started the war. The people of Azerbaijan did not start the war. No. The people of Armenia did not start the war. No. It is governments and those who are in control of power in governments in these two countries and in the region around it. They are the actors, not the people. Not the people. And so now, let me first, before I proceed, let me commend, I think, that Russian diplomacy acted in a very wise way. This is the initial response from Russia, the initial response. The Russian president contacted the United States and he contacted France. And these three countries, the heads of state of these three countries, Putin and Trump and Macron. I'm not a supporter of Trump. I'm not a supporter of Macron, but I have great respect for Putin, and the schoolboy can get lost. So these three leaders then issued a call, calling upon the two governments to have a ceasefire in the war between Armenia and Azerbaijan. And I want to commend them. I want to commend them for this call. Why? Answer, because you cannot solve this problem by war. No. If I had the time to explain the problem in detail, I'll have to go back into 600 years of history, and I'll have to take you to all that is here in this book. Yes, 30-year genocide of the Armenian Christians, and I'll have to take you to this book, The Hidden Actors of War, the Jewish genocide of Armenian Christians, to blame the Turkish people, whereas this is the actor involved. I have to do all of that. But I don't have the time. I can do some of it. But this is the second point I want to make, that you have to be a fool, a totally ignorant fool with no knowledge probably, for you to believe that you can solve the problem of Nagorno-Karabakh by war. It cannot be solved by war. Similar is the case of Kashmir, but that war-mongering government in India today doesn't understand that. You cannot solve the problem of Kashmir with 800,000 of the Indian armed forces stationed in Kashmir, oppressing the Kashmiri Muslim people. Have you no sense in your head? You cannot solve the problem by war. And similarly, the Holy Land, tell Israel that. You can have the biggest war machine in the world. But no, tell Jewish Israel, You cannot solve the problem of the Holy Land by war. So there's something common between Nagorno-Karabakh and Kashmir and Palestine. And that is, you cannot solve these problems by war. You have to find another solution. What is that solution? I have been speaking about that for a long time. And today I will speak some more about it, inshallah. So I have to commend. I don't care what the schoolboy said. Tell him get lost. I have to commend President Putin and President Trump and President Macron of France for having come together. It's strange to see these three people come together to issue the call. This is the initial call. There's more to come after it. But if the two parties don't listen to this call, one of them will suffer, or both will suffer. And that is that there should be a ceasefire in this war. The ceasefire has not come as yet. If the ceasefire does not come, then what's the next step? Don't be surprised. If one side decides, I am going to continue this war until I achieve my objectives, then he's living in dreamland. Tell that to him for me. You're living in dreamland. And the people should not support such a government. No. Both the people of Armenia and Azerbaijan are the nicest people you can find. Yes. I was in Moscow, how many years ago? 7 years ago. Only once I went to Moscow. And at the end of my visit to Moscow, we had a lovely dinner, a large group of us, and we chose a halal Azhari restaurant from Azerbaijan. My friend Alexander Dugin, yes, Alexander Dugin is my friend, and tell the schoolboy, get lost if you don't like my friend. Get lost. I don't care for you and your opinions. So Alexander Dugin could not join us for the dinner in the Azhari restaurant, but his wife and his daughter came, and we had a lovely, lovely Azhari dinner in Moscow. I remember. They are the nicest people you can find, the people of Azerbaijan. They're the nicest people you can find. I'm getting more and more friends now from Armenia. And these two nicest people you can find are being taken for a ride by a government. Now, we should now have to look forward to see what will be the next step in this war. Will this war be allowed to expand and regional countries join in the war? No. I don't think any country in that region has the guts or the stupidity to attempt to have a military confrontation with Russia. You have to have a PhD in stupidity, unless you are NATO's Trojan horse. And so, if there is a sign that the war is expanding to such an extent that one side is able to accomplish its objectives through war, then it will force a Russian intervention. Or, if that is not possible, there might be a peacekeeping force imposed by the Security Council of the United Nations. And it's unlikely that the United States will veto it. And if the United States is not vetoing it because Trump issued a call for ceasefire, then then Britain and France, of course, will not. So there'll be no problem for the Security Council of the United Nations for a resolution. Nobody will dare to veto it, to have a peacekeeping force sent to stop the war. So you cannot achieve your objectives through warfare in the matter of Nagorno-Karabakh. Let me send that message plain and clear. If the peacekeeping force does not stop the war, then of course there will be a military intervention, and Russia will be a major actor in that matter. Now then, What is the response from the Quran? I'm not talking now about the response from world politics and from the United Nations. What is the response from the Quran? Here is the response from the Quran and from Islam. That's right. Constantinople in the Quran. That there has been a consistent policy in that region of the world to build on one side enormous hatred for Christians, meaning the Orthodox Christians, were not hatred for Washington and London and Paris. No, no, no. Hatred for the Orthodox Christian. It is pathetic. It is a sickness. It is a disease. It is something that smells bad, and it corrupts the heart. And this has had its effect, that there is enormous hatred in the heart of Christians for Muslims in that part of the world. There has been relentless oppression from the Ottoman Empire. And tell the schoolboy, shut up! I don't want to hear from you your nonsense. This is factual history. Enormous oppression for 600 years by an Ottoman war machine that was relentless. The Ottoman state was built for war. And the only time we didn't have war was in winter, when they had to rest because they couldn't fight in winter. So they spent winter preparing for spring and new war. The Ottoman state was a war machine. Against whom did they wage war? Answer, Christians. That's right. For 600 years. And who suffered the most from these Ottoman atrocities and this Ottoman oppression and aggression and bogus jihad? That's right, bogus jihad. Let it be recorded in my book on Judgment Day that I declared it to be bogus jihad. And if you support it to be just jihad, on Judgment Day you will have to answer for that. I'm warning you. So who suffered the most? Who suffered the most all those years from Ottoman oppression? The Armenians suffered the most. That's right. So if Armenians who are Christians are now afraid of Muslim rule, you blame them? They would prefer to die. Every single one of them would prefer to die rather than to submit to Muslim rule. That's right. They prefer death to Muslim rule. Why? Because of what was done to them for 600 years. So what is the Muslim response? The Muslim response is to recognize that there is an end time to history, a last age, Akhiru Zaman. And your brother Imran has been pioneering this branch of knowledge. This is Allah's kindness to me. If I am not the pioneer of someone else, Alhamdulillah, let me know he is who he is so I can credit him and honor him and respect him as the pioneer of Islamic eschatology. I don't know who he is because I spent my life studying the subject, and he must be in the dark somewhere. I've never come across him. So if I am the pioneer of Islamic scholarship, and I don't say this in any pride and arrogance at all, then this is what I have been doing all my life. All my life of scholarship has been preparing me for this subject, Islamic eschatology, which I've been studying for the last 25 years or more. And I recognize from the Quran that this is a very special moment in the historical process. The response from the Quran for the war between Azerbaijan and Armenia is to recognize that we are now located at a special moment in history that the Quran refers to in Surah Al-Ma'idah. Shall share with you one more time? I know for the schoolboy it doesn't matter. I can tell him 1,000,000 times, it makes no difference to him. But not all of you are like that. You are people who have respect for truth and respect for the Quran. You don't push the Quran behind your back to follow your own nationalist agenda. None at all. Not, you are not like that. So what does the Quran say about this moment in history? Allah speaks that history would repeat itself. He says it happened at that time when the Quran was revealed, and it will happen again in history. What is it? Ba'ada'uzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. And I'm not building my thought on one verse of the Quran. Forget that nonsense. He says, وَلَتَجِدَنَّ Sorry. He said, لَتَجِدَنَّ أَشَدَّ النَّاسِ عَدَاوَةً لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا الْيَهُودِ. That you will find at the time when the Quran was revealed, and again in time to come, because this is fi'l mudariya. This is Arabic grammar. That those who have the greatest hatred and enmity and hostility for you would be Jews. You can't accuse me of being anti-Semitic. That's the Quran. I'm quoting the Quran. You can't fight the Quran. Unless you're a fool, you wouldn't fight the Quran. And that is what happened when the Quran was revealed. The Jews had the greatest hatred for the Quran and greatest hatred for Muhammad, Allah's blessing be upon him. And we are now living at that moment in history which all of us recognize except those who are members of NATO. That the Jews now have the greatest hatred and enmity and hostility for us. And so history is repeating itself. وَالَّذِينَ أَشْرَكُوا. And those who are in the most overt form of shirk at that time, and again this time it's modern Western civilization. The most overt form of shirk is Christianity of this side, not of that side. That side also has shirk, but this side has more shirk than that side. Allah says, at that time when this is happening, something else will happen. What is it? وَلَتَجِدَنَّ أَقْرَبَهُمْ مَوَدَّةً لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّا نَصَارَى. That at that time when the Quran was revealed, and again in time to come, when the Jews have the greatest hatred of all for you. Watch Gaza today. You will find that those who will be closest in love and affection for you would be a people who declare, we are Nasara. Nasara are the Christians. Nasara, the people who follow Jesus. So who are these Christians? Is it for Tom, Dick, and Harry to determine who are those Christians who will be closest in love and affection? Tell Tom, Dick, and Harry, get lost. It is Allah who will put it in their hearts. And when you see them coming to you with love and affection, whether you like it or whether you don't, this is the truth. The Quran has been confirmed that there is truth in the Quran. Those who now welcome these Christians, who are showing love and affection for us, these are the Muslims who have their hearts in the right place. But those who now have hatred in their hearts for these Christians, unrelentless hatred for these Christians, on that day when these Christians are showing the greatest love and affection for us, I have a message for you. You will look like a jackass on that day, and you deserve the fate that awaits you on that day, because your heart is polluted. Your heart is corrupted. And I ask of you to take that heart and have it washed and cleansed of this filth that is in the heart. Because these are a people who are coming to you with love and affection, and you respond with hatred. You're worse than a fool. Why will they come to us with the greatest love and affection? A Christian people. This is what Allah has said in the Quran. This is going to come to pass, and it's not for you to identify who those Christians are. Get lost. Get lost. Get lost. You don't have any right to define who those Christians are. They are going to come. Whether you like it or you don't, they are going to come, because this is what Allah has said. Get that in your thick skull. This is because ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّ مِنْهُمْ قِسِّسِينَ. These Christians still have the institution of the priesthood intact. The priest is not a pedophile. The priest is still held in high respect and esteem. He still plays a pivotal role in the conduct of the affairs of the society. ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّ مِنْهُمْ قِسِّسِينَ وَرُهْبَانًا. And these are a Christian people who have not abandoned the monastic way of life. Their monastery is not Kentucky Fried and Pizza Hut, no, or bingo hall. Their churches and their monasteries are not up for sale all over the world. No. These are a different Christian people. Their hearts are still attached firmly to the monastery, to the monastic way of life. They still honor the monk. Look for these Christians whose hearts are still. If you are in Kosovo, you'll know them. وَأَنَّهُمْ لَا يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ. And these are not an arrogant Christian people. They don't have this arrogance that we are an exceptional people. They don't have this arrogance that we were born to rule the world. We are the chosen of the Lord God. No, no, no. They don't want to rule the world. These are not a Christian people who say Russia and China and Venezuela and Iran and Korea and Bolivia must bend their knee before us. Everybody must submit to us. We are the rulers of the world, and we are now using the virus to rule the world. No, no, no. These are not Christian people like that. So the Quran is saying that at the end time, and this is that moment in history, when a Christian people are going to become closest in love and affection for Muslims. But there's another Christian people that the Quran speaks about. The schoolboy doesn't want to hear it. To tell the schoolboy, get lost. You're just wasting our time. Get away from us. لا تتخذوا اليهود والنصارى أولياء. Allah is speaking. يا أيها الذين آمنوا. آمنوا. Listen, listen. He's not saying, oh Muslims. He's not saying, oh Ummah of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. He's not saying, oh people of Islam. He's saying, oh you who have faith. That's it. Meaning those who have faith in the Quran. Look at the wisdom of the language in the Quran. Look at the wisdom, because there are Muslims outside of this Ummah. There is Islam outside of this Ummah. He says, oh you have faith. Oh you who have faith. لا تتخذوا اليهود والنصارى أولياء. Don't take such Jews and don't take such Christians as your friends and allies. بعضهم أولياء بعض, who are themselves friends and allies of each other. I am explaining the Quran correctly. Yes, if this is the correct explanation of the Quran, it will survive. No one can remove it. And if I'm wrong, tomorrow I'll be forgotten. Yes. Oh, you who have faith, do not take such Jews and do not take such Christians as your friends and allies who are friends and allies of each other. Meaning that there is going to be a Judeo-Christian alliance. Today is the Zionist alliance built for the sake of Israel. The government of Azerbaijan should not be taking weapons and drones from Israel to wage this war. That's for Turkey, because Turkey, of course, is comfortable as a member of NATO. comfortable, will have no desire of leaving NATO. You better take take the veils from off your eyes and wake up and understand the reality of the world today. Turkey is not going to leave NATO at all. And Allah says, don't take them as your friends and allies, and this is precisely what Turkey has done. And yet, you build friendship and alliance, you're supporting Turkey. Yesterday, you were supporting Saudi Arabia. Today, you're following Turkey. Where is your sense? What happened to you? You stopped thinking. But Allah goes on to say, وَمَن يَتَوَلَّهُ مِنْكُمْ فَإِنَّهُ مِنْهُمْ. If you become a member of NATO, which is built by the Judeo-Christian alliance, as Turkey is a member of NATO, Allah says, you are not a part of us anymore, you belong to them. So how can Turkey be a great Muslim state? How can Turkey be a leader of the Muslims? Is Erdogan, are you so stupid that you cannot understand the Quran? وَمَن يَتَوَلَّهُ مِنْكُمْ فَإِنَّهُ مِنْهُمْ. Whosoever from amongst you turn to them with friendship and alliance, you belong to them. You don't belong to us anymore. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الظَّالِمِينَ. Allah does not provide guidance for a wicked people, and that's NATO, wickedness. Wickedness, yes. And so this is that moment in history when the world of followers of Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, this ummah, and the ummah of Nabi Isa alayhi salam should be coming together with friendship and alliance. And this is what I have been working for. That's why I went to Belgrade twice. That's why I went to Moscow. And now I have to go to Yerevan. I have to go to Armenia, yes, because the Armenian Christians need to be told what is in the Quran. Would you stop me from going to teach the Quran to a Christian people? You wouldn't do it yourself, and you don't want me to do it. You would not do it yourself, and you want me to stop doing it. You don't want me to go to Armenia. What's wrong with you? Yeah? What's wrong with you? The Ottoman state did everything it could do for 600 years to sabotage friendship and alliance in the end time between Muslims and Christians. And the Ottoman state did an excellent job of that. So successful was the Ottoman state that you now have Muslims whose hearts are now polluted with filth, with endless hatred for Christians. Which Christians? Not Washington, not London, not Paris, not Bonn. Yes, the Orthodox Christian world living side by side with Muslims. And you also have Christians now, because action and reaction are equal and opposite. Christians now who have endless hatred for Muslims, yeah. Endless hatred. Why? Because they've been the victims of that Ottoman oppression. The president of Turkey is faithfully following in the footsteps of the Ottoman Empire. The president of Turkey is walking on a dangerous road. And Allah is going to deal with him and with those who are supporting him, the deaf, dumb, and the blind who are supporting him. And this is my next point that I want to make, that the present war between Azerbaijan and Armenia is not so much about territory. No, that's the fig leaf. The master plan at work in this war is to sabotage Muslim-Christian friendship and alliance in Akhiru Zaman. How should you study the Quran if you want to be able to get this wisdom from the Quran? Remember the methodology. Excuse me a minute. If you are on a ship in the ocean, or you're in a camel in the desert, and you don't know which direction to go, how do you decide? How you tell? Allah gave you a compass. Yes, a beautiful, magnificent compass by which you can tell the direction. Where is the compass? There. The stars. He says in the Quran, وَبِالنَّجْمِ هُمْ يَهْتَدُونَ. And they get direction from the stars. He says that in the Quran. But you can't look at one star. No pilot can do that. No navigator can do that. You have to look at all the stars. And not at just one moment, because the sky is moving. You see part of the sky now and part again, because the earth is revolving. Yeah. It's not that the stars are moving, the earth is moving, yes. So, in the same way, Allah speaks about the Quran. Is it in what? Surah Al-Waqiyah, the methodology, the supreme verse of the Quran on methodology for study of the Quran, is in Surah Al-Waqiyah. I always knew it, but I was sitting in a jewelry shop in Mombasa when a young man asked me a question. And then I realized what I knew before, but I didn't know it so well. It just shone brightly, brightly, brightly to me in that jewelry shop in Mombasa when that young man asked me that question. فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِمَوَاقِعِ النُّجُومِ. And Allah takes an oath by the positions in which the stars are located. وَإِنَّهُ لَقَسَمٌ لَوْ تَعْلَمُونَ عَظِيمٌ. And he says, this is not just an ordinary oath or qasam. This is the mother of all oaths or qasam. What? What is the oath? The positions in which the stars are located. إِنَّهُ لَقُرْآنٌ كَرِيمٌ فِي كِتَابٍ مَكْنُونٍ. What does he mean? That here is this Quran, which is noble and generous, and it is located in a book. The Quran means recitation. And this recitation is located in a book, and this recitation, this Quran, this recitation, are you listening to me? This recitation, meaning the Quran, this recitation is located in a book. And this book is guarded and protected. Meaning, in the same way that you study the stars, so too you must study the Quran. لَا يَمَسُّهُ إِلَّا الْمُطَهَّرُونَ. But when you study the Quran, you won't be able to even touch, much less to penetrate the meaning. This is not muhkam, it's mutashabih. Yes, this is, you have to interpret this verse. Unless you are pure, your heart is pure, not corrupted with total, endless, relentless hatred for Christians. Cleanse that heart first, then you can study the Quran. There are two kinds of Muslims today in the world when it comes to the Quran. There are two kinds of Muslims. There are those who strive with sincerity to be faithful to the Quran. And there are those whose supreme loyalties lie elsewhere. And when the Quran stands in the way, they put the Quran aside and they follow their own loyalty. That I am loyalty to my state and to my people, not to the Quran. This is the way to study with truth, study with sincerity, study the Quran as the Quran teaches us the movement of history to the end of history. It was my good luck. When I was a student of the Armenia Institute of Islamic Studies, it was 1966 or 65. And my teacher, Maulana Dr. Muhammad Fadlur Rahman Ansari, went and got one of the most famous scholars in this subject, a PhD in philosophy from Aligarh University, a man who did his PhD under Sayyid Zafarul Hasan at Aligarh, Dr. Burhan Ahmad Farooqi rahimahullah, and brought him to teach at the Alim Institute of Islamic Studies. And I was a student there at that time. This was Allah's kindness to me. And he taught me the philosophy of history, including the Islamic philosophy of history. He taught me about this term, the movement of history. That's right. And the end of history. And that's why today I can teach the subject. There are two kinds of Muslims in the world today. Those who are faithful to the Quran and who can use the Quran to understand the moment in history in which we are now located. As I said to you, it is precisely that moment in history when these two people must come together in friendship and alliance. The Orthodox Christian world, rather than the world which follows Santa Claus and is part of NATO, and Turkey is a part of NATO, and the world of Islam that follows Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. But there is something more in the Quran on this subject. This war between Armenia and Azerbaijan is meant to sabotage this friendship between these two people, friendship and alliance. But the Quran has more to say about this subject, and if you are Azhari, people of Azerbaijan, you're going to be happy when you hear this. And if you are Armenian, you're going to be happy when you hear this. The surah of the Quran, which is the surah par excellence of Akhir Zaman, is Surah Al-Kahf. That's right. And in Surah Al-Kahf, we have the question which was posed by the rabbis in Yathrib. Ask him these three questions which only a true prophet can answer. These answers are not located in history. You cannot go to history to find the answers to these questions. Shall I repeat that? You cannot study history to find the answers to these questions. I don't have to repeat it another time, do I? Ask him about the great traveler. History is not going to tell you the answer. Ask him about the great traveler who traveled to the two ends of the land. Only a prophet would know who he is. So tell Tom, Dick, and Harry get lost. Only a prophet can tell who he is. The great traveler who traveled to the two ends of the land. Only a prophet knows who he is. And the Quran speaks of him as Zulqarnain. And I have lectured already on this subject. We don't have the time to do it one more time. And I have only one more session next week before I travel, so let me do what I can today. And Zulqarnain, he has power, and Allah has blessed him with that power, and he has faith. So when power rests on the foundations of faith, how does power behave? And he travels in the direction of the setting of the sun, Maghrib al-Shams. And there he says, I'm going to use my power to punish the oppressor, punish those who are wicked, and to help those who have faith and whose conduct is righteous. And then he traveled, this was to a place where there's a body of water which is dark and murky, and we said it is the Black Sea. So the geography of the Quran here is the Black Sea. So if he could he had to stop here for the rising, for the setting of the sun, he had to stop. So he had to stop somewhere else for the rising of the sun, otherwise he traveled endlessly. And we say that's the Caspian Sea. That's how our logic is. Don't ask me where the hadith. Excuse me, it's so funny. So he stops at the Caspian Sea. ثم أتبع السبب حتى إذا بلغ مطلع الشمس. When he reached the rising of the sun, وجدها تدعو على قوم لم نجعل له من دونها سترا. He found a people there by the Caspian Sea, the nicest of all. A people لم نجعل لهم من دونها سترا. Previously, I used to think of this as a primitive people. Primitive, living a primitive way of life. But now you'll notice that I have changed my understanding and I'm using a different terminology. Yeah, because Allah blesses you with your knowledge as it expands. So now I say no, not a primitive people, rather a people living the natural way of life. The natural way of life. Over there, a man can marry another man and get a marriage certificate. That's Monkey Town. But these are a people living the natural way of life, where men marry women. So over here, he found these people, and he had the wisdom to allow them to continue to live as they were living, untouched. He did not intervene at all in their way of life. This is wisdom. So those who have power, and when power rests on the foundations of faith, will realize these people have to be left to continue to live the way they're living. And that's Azerbaijan. The nicest people you can find are the people of Azerbaijan. The government may be in the hands of Israel, taking weapons from Israel to wage their war, but not the people. And the nicest people you can find, but also the people who have suffered the most of all, the Armenian Christians. These are the people of whom the Quran is speaking. So these people cannot allow their hearts to become corrupted and polluted with hatred for each other. I have to end now because my time is coming to an end. And the Quran is sending a message to the nicest people of all. Stop fighting each other. Stop waging war against each other. Stop hating each other. I believe that it is easier for the Christian to listen to me, because the Christian will be very happy to hear what is in the Quran. It will be also easy, but not so easy for the Muslim, because he's been brainwashed for so long. But still, if you are from Azerbaijan and you are listening to me, this is the Quranic message to you, that you are the nicest of all people. Do not allow your hearts to be corrupted with hatred, eternal hatred, enmity, hostility for Christian, because the Christian did this and the Christian did that and the Christian did that. Is the Quran not important to you? What is in the Quran will come to pass. Cannot be averted. It must come to pass because the Quran is truth. And I'm not aware of Iran's policy in this war so far. But it is amazing that the Iranian foreign policy is always going in the right way, whereas Pakistan is going this way and that way, this way and that way. I want to end now because time is up. May Allah grant that we may have peace between Azerbaijan and Armenia, not because the governments want peace, but because the people force it upon their governments. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.